I had this conversation with Robert Sapolsky, and he gave this quote to Andrew Huberman where he said, dopamine is not about the pursuit of happiness. It is about the happiness of pursuit.
Right. That's definitely right.
And I haven't been able to stop seeing this everywhere. So Morgan Housel, a friend, told me this great story. He is an investor. He's got a fund. He's an author. He's got a family. He's got all of these things. They plan to go away on holiday. And they've been planning it for a long time. And with the kids and the wife and him and all of his businesses, it was an arduous thing to go through to get themselves out there. And finally, they get there after the journey and the plane and the children and the crying and all of the rest of it. And he walks out on the balcony on the first night of this holiday that they've planned for forever. And his first thought to himself was, wouldn't it be great if we came back here next year? It would be so great if we could come back here next year. So literally during the supposed enjoyment of the destination, he was already thinking about the journey. And, you know, it's not the journey, it's not the destination, it's the journey is kind of trite, but it puts a new perspective on it. That there is no destination. Each destination is simply the beginning of the next journey. And I haven't not been able to see it. I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere in my own life. Happiness, as far as I can see it, sits in the gap between your expectations and reality. But the problem here is that people who have high standards often end up feeling a lack, right? How can people who strive like this avoid feeling despondent at falling short of their own high standards? I've heard you talk about the statue of David saying something like, you are not all that you could be.
Yeah.
And as soon as you posit an ideal, you begin to compare yourself to that ideal.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a good question. I mean, the ultimate ideal is also the ultimate judge, because the ultimate ideal is something against which you fall far short. And that might be so painful that you can barely stand it. But then what you do is you two things, I suppose, is you lower the ideal and you raise your estimation of your potential. And what do I mean by lower the ideal? Well, if you're comparing yourself to someone or even to a future self, and the gap is so painful that it paralyzes you, then you've created a dragon that you don't have the tools to master. And so what you have to do is you have to scale the dragon down to size. And you want to scale the dragon down to size until it's a size that you are willing to move toward. To those who have everything, more will be given, and from those who have nothing, everything will be taken. How are you doing?
How are you doing? How are you doing?
Brilliantly and terribly. You know, when you listen to a profound piece of music, one that sort of spans the whole emotional experience, there's this admission of a deep suffering at the same time as you get the beautiful transcendence of the music. And that's meaning, you know, that's awful in the most fundamental sense, but you need an antidote to suffering, and it has to be deep. And, you know, deep moves you tectonically, and it's not a trivial thing. But that's better than happiness.
Here's another thing. I spoke to David Goggins about this last year, about how I was bullied as a kid. And I was quite unpopular in school, and I was an only child, so I didn't really have many people to back me up, you know, in the schoolyard or whatever. And I, for a long time, had a chip on my shoulder about the kids that mistreated me in school, as you might expect. And then I got toward, you know, maybe a few years ago, and I really, really started to reflect on it and realized that so many of the things that I valued in myself were the light side of something dark that had been created during that time in school. So my complete preparedness to just spend time on my own means that I don't mind about moving out to a country where I don't know anybody and trying to make this podcast thing work, or spending hours and hours working or researching or recording podcasts or doing intros or whatever it is. Like all of those things. Not having a super tight social network as a kid meant that I wasn't beholden to anybody. Realizing not only you probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the things that you went through. Okay, there's step one. And then step two is and I'm quite grateful for what I've done. And then step 3 would be something like, wow, I'm proud of myself for having turned something that was negative into something that's positive. But then another level above that would be, wow, so maybe I should be thankful.
Yeah, right. I've been writing about the book of Job, and Job is a story of unjust suffering, fundamentally. God deems Job a good man, so we have it on God's word that Job is actually a good man, and then all hell breaks loose, partly because God makes a bet with Satan, which is, a hell of a thing to do, and says, do your worst. He's not going to turn on me no matter what you do. And so Job, despite his torment, he becomes very ill, he loses everything he has, his friends, he becomes ill in a way that's disfiguring. His friends come around and laugh at him and tell him that he's a bad man, and that's why all these terrible things have been happening to him, and it's brutal. And Job refuses to lose faith in himself. He says, look, I'm not perfect, but as far as men go, I've done what I should do, and I'm not being punished in some manner that's obviously related to my sin. It's more like the random play of tragic forces in the world. I'm not going to lose faith in myself no matter what. And I'm also not going to, his wife says, shake your fist at God, curse him and die. Because things have gone so badly for Job, she thinks that's all that's left to him, and he refuses to do that. So he maintains faith regardless of what's happened to him. And that's really the moral of the story of Job, which is that you are morally obligated to maintain faith no matter what happens to you. So imagine that God and Satan conspire against you. There'll be times in your life where it feels like that's happening. And then imagine that your reaction to that is to become bitter and resentful and hostile. Well, then whatever hell you're in, merely as a consequence of the confluence of tragic events, you have opened a whole other hell underneath it. The hell of bitterness and resentment and ingratitude, and that turns into the desire for revenge very, very quickly. You think things are bad just because they're bad. You wait till you see how bad they can become if you allow yourself to be corrupted by your unjust suffering. And I do think that this is the most practical possible advice that can be given to people, which is that you are morally required to maintain faith, to aim up, and to treat other people the way you would want to be treated, no matter what's happened to you.
You said that a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. How should people become more dangerous?
Oh, becoming more articulate is definitely, I would say, that's the primary array of weapons. Physical prowess is something, and it's not nothing, that physical confidence that comes along with that as well. But the same thing replicated at the level of the ability to communicate and to think, and that's a way broader field of battle and opportunity. There's nothing that makes you more formidable than verbal competence, than being able to articulate, be able to think, to marshal your arguments, right? It's a battlefield metaphor. Get everything in order. Get all your information straight, to marshal your forces. And so, that's part of the reason that rap artists are so popular, especially among disaffected young men, black and white alike, because they're unbelievably articulate.
Talking about the individual, one of the things that I see holding people back is comfort. So it's easy to get life to a stage where it's not that bad, but it's not that good either. At least when you have a full-on breakdown, there's only one way to go, right? You're only going to go up from there. But I think it's possible to wallow for years in a just about passable life, right? Sedated by comfort. And I see this temptation in myself as well, to give up the good for the great. What would you say to people who are trying to escape this curse of mediocrity?
Well, if you're satisfied with it in some fundamental sense, there's something to be said, I suppose, for walling off a private space for yourself if you can maintain it, and detaching yourself to some degree from the troubles of the world and maintaining your own little private garden. The problem with that is the snakes tend to seep in from the outside, right? It's pretty difficult to wall yourself off in any real sense from the concerns of the world. So it isn't clear to me that that's a viable solution. It also means that you might justify to yourself lack of civic engagement. I shouldn't go to church. I shouldn't take part in the political process because it's all so corrupt. I should hide myself from all the annoying noise that's generated constantly on the media front. And I have some sympathy for that viewpoint, but I don't believe it's really possible, because you can't have a walled garden independently of the health of the broader society. It's just not possible. Maybe you can have it for a very short period of time, but if you're comfortable with what you have and it's genuine comfort, then I think, okay, but generally it's not.
I think for the most part, it's people that have become sedated. They've forgotten their dreams, but they've forgotten that they've forgotten them. Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb is about this, right? They've become comfortably numb. So during the pandemic, running a podcast, I was able to have the thing that I feel I'm good at, my artistic pursuit and outlet, that was available for me to continue. It was actually increased because I didn't have other stuff to do. And I have a friend that's a barber, and he got a job at a supermarket. Barbers shut down for a long period of time, and he got a job at a supermarket stacking shelves overnight. And I asked him, I was like, man, how are you finding the new job? It's a big change. He's like, do you know what it is? I actually don't mind the work. I don't mind the people that I work with. But man, I miss being good at something.
Right. Well,
dude, that hit me so hard.
Right.
I missed being good at something.
Yeah. Well, people need the opportunity to be good at something. So then you might ask yourself, well, what's the best antidote to the discomfort of life? And you might say, well, it's comfort. And I suppose that's what you act out when you swaddle a baby. But a better antidote is something like adventure to excellence. And that's far better antidote to suffering than the mere absence of suffering. Dostoevsky said that every man was responsible for everything he did. And you do have an indefinite responsibility, and you do have an indefinite capacity to bear that responsibility. But that doesn't mean it can't be crushing. As your responsibilities mount and your opportunities increase, you have to delegate more and more. It's important that you do everything you can, but there's enough for everyone to do. And so you might say, well, the heroic path is one that leads to universal redemption, and that's true. And you might say, well, that's all on you. It's like, it is in a sense, but then the problem that you just described comes up.
Shouldering too much burden.
Well, it can crush you. It can be unsustainable. Right? You can torture yourself for not doing it well enough. And it is up to you, but it's not up to you alone. It's not up to you alone.